Hello and good day, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. It's January 25th, and this is Deep Funding Town Hall number 25. And I will quickly share my screen for all the people that are new here. The Deep Funding Town Hall is a dedicated place for our valued community members to be heard and actively contribute to the growth and design of the Deep Funding program, and therefore also the SingularityNET ecosystem. And what do we do at the town hall? So why should you join the town hall? You can learn about the Deep Funding program here, which funds builders who publish new AI services or tools that support the growth of the SingularityNET platform. You can introduce and present your own project to the Deep Funding community and get feedback. You can, of course, find out what other projects others are building. You can get the latest updates about the program and our current funding rounds. Of course, you can share your feedback, ideas, and wishes on how to improve things at Deep Funding or SingularityNET. You can get all your questions answered, and you can get guidance around writing your proposal that you might want to submit to Deep Funding. And of course, you can network, collaborate, or just be part of our community of builders, visionaries, and AI enthusiasts. So that's what we do at the town hall. And welcome here if you're here for the first time. And that brings us to today's schedule. So we're going to start with a quick update and some news around what's happening at the Deep Funding program and our test round. And that will be presented by Jan. Then we're going to head into breakout room sessions. And we have two rooms today. One is hosted by Joanna, and that will be on our contribution and engagement score tool. And the second room will be hosted by Guillermo, and that will be on strategic voting behavior. So you will be able to join whichever room you would like. So I'm not going to assign you. You can choose which one you like. And then we'll come back to the main room after that and share our insights, and you can get your questions answered. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Jan for some updates.
Hello, everybody here in the meeting or watching this later. So first of all, a small update on the test round. So the test round has, well, semi-officially started. This week was reserved for the selected candidates. So we have, well, let's do that later, to start preparing their proposals in our portal. And then starting from Monday next week, they would be able to submit it so that it will become visible on the website. And that will be for a week. Then we have a week stable period where no new submissions can be created anymore, but we can still give feedback and ratings, etc. And also the proposals can be improved and adapted still. And then after that, there's a voting round. So 3 weeks only, very short timelines as part of the testing experience. So yeah, we were looking for about 10, I think I mentioned this before, previous town hall. We were looking for about 10 testers. We got 65 proposals or something. So that was a pretty hard job for us to filter that down. So I did that together with Raphael, first independently from each other. And then we also asked the opinion for this special occasion of the review team. And in the end, I think we have a really good list of good projects. Just also maybe partly because of that filtering. To be honest, there were also a number of projects that were actually very good, but couldn't be added for multiple reasons. One being there were just too many. The other being that it wasn't always a good fit with the conditions of these two pools that we had. So we don't have a pool for tooling, for instance, this round. So yeah, we're extremely happy. And there's one other thing. It was a little bit of a challenge to get it ready in time, but in the end, we managed to have 2 requests for proposals in. And where the proposers for these 2 pools all have been pre-selected, anyone you can still apply for those 2 RFPs. If you see an RFP, one of these RFPs is something that you would like to build upon, you can send a mail and then we will whitelist you, and then you can add your proposal to our portal. I'll share my screen very shortly to show them to you, to show it off. One moment. Where is my share button? There. So officially, or originally, I should say, we wanted to open the proposal portal for preparation of the selected teams this Monday. It took us a few days extra. So today we sent out the invites to the team. So if you're hearing this, you have been selected, but for some reason you haven't received this mail, then let me know. Send me a message or a mail or whatever. But yeah, the teams can now starting today. So they have a little bit fewer days to start preparing for Monday when they can actually submit their proposal. And yeah, one of the reasons for that is that I really wanted to have this page in. In the previous round, Deep Funding round 3, we just had a Google Doc and we linked to a Google Doc and said, well, here is our RFP, which worked also fine. But I wanted to have this page in our website where we can actually showcase the RFPs in our site, in the context of our site. And this is an overview page. You see here at the top, accepted RFPs. Actually, here it says submitted status. That should also be accepted, I suppose. But this is built not just for now, but to build out further. So what I expect to see here, we're still ideating a little bit on this, is that we will have about 3 or 4 tabs here, where one tab would be RFP ideas, where we can ideate on good topics for RFPs. The next step would be RFPs in progress. And yeah, the community would already be able to see and to comment and to give feedback on those things. Also on the ideas, you will be able to give feedback, ideate, and maybe adopt a good idea. If you think, hey, that's a great idea, I would like to start developing that, then maybe you can form a team or something and start doing that. So these 2 RFPs are still created by Deep Funding and SingularityNET. But we're hoping in the future that this concept will also be adopted by the community and that everybody will start thinking about creating RFPs for new rounds. So what you can do is, there was some comments that wasn't always clear what an RFP is. So I made this short text with an explanation. And if you want to create a proposal for any of these RFPs, you can click here. And then in this case, in the test round, it's just a text with a link to a form. And that way you can request to get whitelisted, and then you'll be added to our portal. You can select the RFP and you can create your proposal. The RFPs itself, they're just formatted in a rather simple way, but you see the main information here and all the structured information over here. So this way we can also keep them in our system. Also, if a project comes out of it, we can still link that project to the RFP, previous RFPs. So yeah, just wanted to show this off as a start of something that I think is very promising, at least. Over the coming days or weeks, we will define these screens a little bit closer. And then I think I will, either in a town hall or in another way, we will present our ideas and give opportunity for feedback. So that's the idea here. Now, should there be anybody listening here and saying, I really want to be part of this ideation, let me think with you, then just send me a message and we'll set up a work group or something, or a call or whatever. I don't want to make it too big. I don't want to make this into a 6-month process in ideating and concepting, etc. I hope we will have something standing already in round 4. So that's the hurry. But if you really, if this really, speaks to your imagination and you want to be part of it, then let me know. By the way, I am already discussing it with wider and wider circles, but also literally circles in this case, the circles that are part of our operational structures on Merimo. So I'm collecting feedback already. So yeah, I won't hijack this meeting any longer than I'm already doing. So back to you, Judith, and maybe forward to the breakout rooms.
Just really quickly, if anybody has any questions regarding this, you can speak up now. We have a few minutes if anyone has a question. If not, I will open the breakout rooms, and I believe you should see them. Can you see the breakout rooms on the screen? Yes, no?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll share my screen again with the topics, and you can start joining the rooms. So again, we have room 1, hosted by Joanna, around our contribution and engagement score tool. And room 2 will be hosted by Guillermo on strategic voting behavior, learning from deep funding round 3, voting behavior. So yeah, go ahead and join the room of your choice, and everyone that's left over and you're not choosing, I will probably assign you. Welcome back, everybody. Do we have everyone? 18 participants? Yeah. Let me see if there's anyone left in a breakout room. Okay. How did everyone enjoy that? Was it a good discussion? Okay, let's see. Let's get a quick recap from both rooms, what's been going on. We definitely had a extremely lively discussion in our room with amazing suggestions on how to prevent strategic voting behavior. But maybe let's start with the other room. Who would like to give an overview of what's been happening in there?
If you want, Joanna, go ahead. If you want me, that's also fine.
I will gladly hand it over to you, Jan.
I'm afraid I was talking most of the time. You know me. So we had a very interesting discussion going over all the complexities and the benefits and the sophistication of this unimaginably complex reputation system. And then Walter asked a very simple question. Yeah, so what actually are we trying to achieve? And what is the problem that we're trying to solve? And I think that puts us a little bit back with our feet on the ground. Is the machinery and the sophistication and this huge cannon that we're building, is that still balanced towards the actual goal that we're trying to solve? So that was one of the outcomes here, and maybe there are easier solutions to accomplish the same thing. And in the same line of thinking, so I don't have a mathematical background, Walter does. So it's very funny that I, in my thinking continuously on that reputation system, try to make it more and more complex and more algorithms and more connections between algorithms to make it the best thing ever. Whereas Walter, with his mathematical background, says, well, maybe we should rely more on people's judgment. So yeah, I thought it was a very fruitful and interesting and helpful perspective, and yeah, it helps us reevaluate where we are. That's exactly the kind of thing that these town halls are good for. And yeah, this will give us a new basis and a new starting point in re-evaluating what we have been discussing and rethinking what the next step should be and what are the most important things that we want to get out of this system. Because if we want to build everything that we have in our minds or that I can imagine, it will be a 10-year project easily, and we need some heavy AI to make it all work. But yeah, it's good to go back and first principles and start thinking about the next few steps that will really help us forward. Walter, is that a good summary?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sounds interesting. I hope you took notes. If not, was there a presentation being shared that we could maybe have?
There's a recording.
But did you have any slides?
No. It was just a discussion.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
And we have this summarizing tool, right? So we can get
yeah, all good. That's perfect.
Will be good testing, a testing movie to get that summary, see what it makes out of it.
Exactly. I tried one not too long ago and it did not turn out well whatsoever. I hope this one is better. All right, from our room, who would like to share a quick summary?
Okay, I'm gonna go first, and then I'm gonna open the floor for anyone want to add on it. So, as I was sharing at the last part of it, I guess your experiment, my dear friend Jan, went pretty well. If there was a way to challenge what we have, you put me on the line. I will just say the right things and the wrong things. And as we are discussing community members' work and results, it gets heated at a certain point because we are passionate and we are, I guess we're involved on it pretty much. So that's a good thing if we kind of like channelize the energy. I took on it starting with your blog. Okay, so I exposed the information we have from your analysis of the results, and I couldn't stop myself from sharing some stupid ideas like the extreme voting limitation or different, and opening the floor for people to discuss whether somebody have something to say on how we can make a better, bring better results for the endeavor. As we know, onboarding have been tough, so voting haven't prevent that from happening. So we have a system, and we are developing on top of a platform that we are migrating off. Fortran have a big challenge in regards of this, and they're doing a great job on how we can help them to get some inputs. And the only way to do it is to open the floor to discuss ideas that probably, as Newman put it, they're simple. So we shouldn't be afraid of them. But still, there's a lot of paper and arguments that prove certain systems to do well. So how we can improve quadratic voting, how we can make it even better, or how can we apply it better in our endeavor or challenge as a community. And it worked really perfect because I messed up in the beginning of the presentation, and this opened the discussion to be frank, very, very upfront, straightforward, and each one to, yeah. So I think if I had to give you keywords, it was respectful, because we are discussing ideas, and there's no harsh in discussing ideas if there's passion. I think reputation, or how we build that reputation, if they are not repercussions for bad behavior is hard because, incentivizing good behavior is something we need to, again, we agree. First time we met with Ubi in one of these calls, it was to say, hey, thank you for your input. Hey, thank you for your input. At the same time, we were competing. So contribution and reputation should, all these good small things need to build on, not only on how old or how many tokens do I have in my wallet. Stupid ideas like extreme voting to limit damage were part of the discussion. And I think the arguments of implementing these tools, what are simplest tools, can at the same time be not beneficial. And this was a point argumented by a lot of members in the call. And they all put good arguments on it. Still, I believe, you asked me now to be upfront, I still believe that it can help and work. Maybe we can try it or not. I don't know. It's just a stupid suggestion. But a personal take was that it was a challenging room to lead because it's everything. It results in voting, and we were affected by it. The results show that a malintentional deliberate individual or more than one vote indiscriminately one proposal and then vote a lot of them. So they didn't got granted. Good thing. So our system protect us. The treasury funds were protected from this. But still, it was able to impact other good proposals and developers and people that are willing to build. So we closed the doors to discussing a system because it has been proven that it's good. Probably will still be on a cave because it's safe for us to be in a cave and not go out. So challenging ideas it's an evolving thing, and then I have nothing more to say than thank you because it's minute I spent here I learned. As for Kenrick or Newman or Curtis or Ubio or Ana Paula and everybody in the room and William that now it's on with his mic off, it's here with us. So I enjoy it. A heated discussion, and now I'm gonna give the mic to after Jan that have something to say. Probably Kenrick, you were a very important part of the discussion, and I believe you have strong arguments to follow that. So Jan, you go.
Yeah, so just something that occurred to me. I'll keep it short. Walter asked at some point, so where do we go from here? And I think one important objective would be to have a kind of voting system that filters out obvious games like wallet splitting. And I think we can also improve the votes, maybe by strength of conviction and that kind of thing. And I think the other direction is, so how can we incentivize people to give contributions and to be an active member of our community and have maybe some rewards. And rewards is very tricky because it attracts gaming behavior. But what we could do there, and I thought that just after leaving the breakout room, is that's another aspect of the system that we can build is last round we had this manual thing. So we did first an algorithmic one, we promised, so we did it. But then additionally, we did a manual feedback where we still used an algorithm, where we still used some tooling. But based on that, or on top of that, there was a human vote. So I think our traditional, what I now call traditional reputation system based on behavior and rating, etc., we can still use, but we should perhaps target that more as a helping tool for a group of human beings that filter out the best contributors and then give them a reward, instead of making that fully automated. And that might also lead to a little bit different tooling than we would have if we try to make it all automated. So that's the thing I wanted to add. Kenrick, I see your lips move, but I don't hear you.
You're muted.
So I was on mute. Yeah, I can build from what John is saying in that part of what I've been advocating in our discussions is a kind of layered approach. So we have an initial foundation of taking the square roots of the wallets. That protects against a small wealthy segment of the community dominating the voting. So that's a good thing to have, and we should preserve that. But the next layer that we need to build is the actual quadratic voting, because having this scale from 1 to 10 without any weighting of that on the cost doesn't actually work. And that's what leads to this extreme voting. But the solution is known, and we should just implement it. My recommendation, well, you would essentially just vote positive or negative on a proposal. But then you would also have a budget that you have to allocate how much of your AGIX wallet you want to apply to that particular proposal. And that would become the strength of your conviction. But now you have two constraints. It goes up quadratically in scale as you want to express a stronger opinion about a particular proposal. But then that's actually now deducted. Now you've actually spent that amount, and you have now, when you get to the next proposal, you have less that you can apply to the next proposal. So that's what quadratic voting actually is this. It forces you to think about how much you care about each proposal. And then it constrains you by going up quadratically as you care more about a particular proposal. So we should implement that. Then the third layer.
We should also test it with the simulation tool that will come out of the RFP, hopefully.
Yes, but I also emphasize that it's been tested and published and simulated in the literature, so we can read the simulation results.
It hasn't been tested, I think, in combination with grade voting.
It is. That's what it is. That's what it is.
No, but we have grade voting already.
What do you mean grade voting?
1 to 10.
That's what quadratic voting is.
No. So we do two things, right? We give every proposal a vote from 1 to 10, whether how much you like it, and then we could have an other dimension giving the strength of your conviction. So I can give a 10 with a
you combine these things. The point is you just combine these things. Well, do you have a mathematical proof as to why that would work? My point is my point is that in asking that is that we shouldn't reject what's been mathematically proven to work well and then spend our time on heuristics that we're not sure about. So what I'd say is if you have an idea, that's great. Go finish a mathematical proof on that idea. I
won't challenge mathematical proof, but I will challenge the context in which this mathematical proof has been achieved.
Sure. That's important too.
And here we have a different context with different stakes. People can get, some people can get only 5K out of a reward if they win. Other people can get 200K out of a proposal if they win. I think the examples that I saw from quadratic voting is that you can say you're for or against and give a strength of conviction, but you wouldn't be able to give a range in how much you are, what kind of grade you would give something.
But the grade is how much strength you put on the proposal. That is your grade. That is your grade. So in other words, you grade every proposal.
No, not necessarily. Those are two very different things. Like I said, a high conviction doesn't necessarily mean a high grade. I can have
Yes, but
high
the reason I push back so
this is an
strongly,
average proposal.
the reason I'm pushing back so strongly is that there are mathematical proofs that what you're suggesting won't work. And you can just read the literature on this and it explains why that doesn't work. So the idea of providing a ranking but not putting a cost on that ranking is known not to work. And there's mathematical explanations of why it doesn't work. And this is what leads to extreme opinions.
Let me phrase this, Kenrick. I'm not challenging your idea of strength of conviction. The question that I have right now is if we should do that, whether we should still keep on also having this graded voting where you can say this project is a 1 or a 10, or whether we should reduce that to a scale of 1 or 5, or reduce that to just yes, no.
And my question is, show me some scientific papers that have implemented that and they explain whether it works or not. Do you have any references that have actually implemented that and shown the merits of it?
To be honest, I don't think that's a very fruitful way of having this discussion, this kind of arguments, because this is a very, in the context that we're talking about, is a very young situation. So I don't expect in the context of this kind of voting based on wallets and crypto, etc. In the type of things that we're voting about has been tested. And saying that if there's no scientific proof, then we shouldn't do it. That would limit our possibilities in anything to the extreme. So I don't think that's a good argument either.
Well, there is the only thing I'd say, I didn't really expect it to take this turn, but these ideas are not new. There's 50 years of scientific literature on these different kinds of ideas. And so it's worth, we have a database for people who are interested that we've collected a lot of the literature on this. If you can send me an email if you'd like to be a part of that.
Two questions, Kenrick. Are there in that literature and in that research, are there situations where some of the stakeholders could benefit from this voting experiment by getting $200,000?
Yes, that's the starting preferences. That's how they start. The whole foundation of it is that everybody who participates has some self-interest. And and this is what makes public choice a very difficult problem, is that people want to get out of the public choice what's a benefit to them personally. That's the entire foundation of the whole body of research in this area.
So I would argue, and I would like to simulate that. I think there's a difference whether, suppose that somebody would not get 200K as a reward, but 2 billion.
Yeah.
How would the system set up that?
I'll give you the paper that did it, because it's been done. That simulation has been done, and I'll put it in the link right now. And this is the mathematical paper that did exactly that problem.
And the other question was, has it been done, the strength of conviction in combination with how the qualitative vote, like, is this a very good, an extremely good, or a poor thing that you want to see accomplished? And I think that is also, it's not the same as the strength of your conviction. Those are two different dimensions. And I would be very interested to see if that has been tested before. And then in combination with this value thing. So I still would like to see that simulation and see what we could get out of that.
Okay. Well, I'll just finish my summary. Like, the papers here, if people are interested in the simulation part of this, this paper that I just linked has simulations on just what John was asking about. And part of what they prove is that this particular method actually incentivizes people to only limit what they invest as to, it puts constraints on what people would invest, is the point.
Okay,
But just
so
going further, you need layers, like, so what we've talked about too is like the weakness of these, any alternative to one coin, one vote, is that people will split their wallets, or people will collude to do something as a group. And so there's a need to measure and counteract against correlations between the voting. So that's one layer. And then another layer is the work we're doing on the reputation scores, where in addition to allocating votes by how much AGIX you own, you might allocate weight by how strong a member of the community you are. So you have both of those elements. So that's where the reputation weighting comes in.
Sorry, I want to jump in, so I'm going to just unmute myself. Because a lot of the things Kenrick is sharing, even though I read a lot of papers, they're new for me. And still, I don't see them implemented in the way we vote. Because I can split 100 AGIX in 100 wallets and still vote one on all the proposals and impact them. Because still we are not using what you're suggesting. That is, I allocate a part of my budget into a vote and lock it. And that will make this system work, what you're sharing with us. Because it's on a paper, but we are not using it. So what you're suggesting, that these simulations they run, is that, and this again, it's in a form of a question. They have implemented for a simulation where I have 100 AGIX. I'm gonna vote. I want to weight my vote towards this direction, and I use 18 of my AGIX, and I can't use them for voting in other proposals. But because one thing is splitting, and the other thing is giving power, and as you are saying, show confidence in your vote. So you're investing towards your vote. Today, this 100 tokens, you can divide them, they will impact if you don't vote, but still would not, this wouldn't represent a downside for the guy that is trying to play the system. I'm right, or I'm just saying a nonsense?
No, this is the big concern. You have to protect against splitting of the wallets, that's for sure. I just put another paper in here that actually reviews implementations of quadratic voting. So you could take a look at that. Gitcoin is probably the most prominent in the crypto space that has implemented what's called quadratic funding, where it's actually you kind of combining investment pools. You have sort of investors that set up a pool, and then community members vote by actually having to contribute to the project, like a crowdfunding type of implementation. And they have very strong split wallet splitting controls. They have a quite sophisticated identity system in which when you register for Gitcoin, you have an option to link like 10 or 12 different social media accounts, and then they'll evaluate the credibility of those accounts, and that gives you a weight of how strong your identity is. And then I think they also are working on other solutions to counteract wallet splitting and collusion. So that's definitely part of what we need to progress with too.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here. I think in the comment section, Newman and I think we probably said something similar before while you guys were having your discussion. we said probably the foundation to all of this is probably we need to first start discussing identity before even probably quadratic voting and all of this, because if we can't get that basic part of it clear, quadratic voting in itself only, if at all we want to implement it in the way it ought to be, where we give the different, so you invest your convictions on a particular vote or opinion you're making, then in that sense, we are only incentivizing wallet split. So I think that was what Numan and I were talking in the comment section when we said probably foundation to all of this is a stronger identity system that ensures that one is it's actually a person we're talking about before we even start implementing the benefits of quadratic, because obviously it's beneficial if people can actually determine the strength of their conviction. But again, I'm also lost on how that works when it's not a yes and no and on a graded system. But of course, I do agree that if it works on a yes and no, we might as well see how that would be effective on a graded system. But I think maybe foundation to all of this is the issue of identity, because if not, I see this as only empowering people to split wallets.
We
Yes,
already
in
faced
another
this
way,
with,
yeah. Sorry,
even,
go ahead.
well, I'll just say, even with our current system of taking the square root of the wallets, you already are incentivized to split. So that we already faced that issue. That's why we're also building the reputation system as a prevention against that. That's one of its core functions. So it's known that we have to do that. That is part of what has to be implemented.
Yeah, well, one thing occurs to me that we're creating a lot of tooling potentially and things that could also be done in a relatively easy way by just having some identification method like face recognition or whatever, and then maybe we don't need all that sophisticated tooling. So that's another discussion for another day. One more thing, Kenrick, that that just popped in my head, whether related to the examples that you've been investigating. I think it makes a difference whether you have 1,000 people that need to decide on two different projects or outcomes or whatever, or whether they have to decide on 500 different projects, because I can't review all 500, but I can always review the one that I put there or my friend put there. So I wonder how that will impact the whole system.
Yeah, that is another big issue. And there's papers that discuss the difference between, as you're describing, binary choices versus multiple choices. So the details of that are interesting to look at. But the core thing, I think actually the system also benefits it in the following way, is that part of the problems all the communities are facing is, say you have 500 proposals to review, or like in the Cardano system now, there's thousands of proposals each round, right? No one person can review all of those and make a sensible choice. So you end up with a lot of noisy votes in which people are expressing opinions on things they haven't taken any time to understand. Yeah. On the other hand, if it's more like, if you think about an investor and how they make a choice, right? When you go into the marketplace, there's hundreds of thousands of different companies that you could invest in, right? And but you have a constraint on your budget. It's not that I say I like this or I don't like this a million different times for every single company. No, you have a budget. You have to constrain, and you have to make a choice about what you are going to invest in. Yeah. And so now, if you did something similar with the voting, people would make more conscientious, better choices, because now they're constrained that they can't apply their money to all of the proposals. They have to decide which proposals are of importance to them. And then they'll only make investments in the ones that actually matter to them. And so they'll make better choices.
Yeah, so I would be interested in a kind of simulation where you could have a variable range or something where in one situation you have a group of people judging all the proposals, but in one situation people would only actually rate 10 of them, and in another situation they would rate 50, and another they would rate 100, and give some kind of have some kind of predefined behavior per person, where you know that somebody who created a proposal will always favor his own proposal, and then see how those different things would work out. I think it would be an interesting situation. I think we should also give Walter a chance, and then I think, Judith, we failed to keep this within 1 hour and a half, but I think it's an extremely interesting discussion.
Walter, the floor is yours.
So Newman asked about learning the Gitcoin system. So having worked there for a year, specifically in the department that was evaluating proposals and specifically looking for on-chain and profile evidence of untoward behaviors. I can tell you that it's an intractable problem given sufficient rewards, and what it does take to process eligibility, not the scoring, but eligibility of proposals, 12 to 1,500 proposals in the course of about 10 days. It takes a whole bunch of labor and 2 to 3 layers of basically fallback, so mass processing, then sort of, second level of reviews on specific topics, and then adjudication in that. On Quadratic, so the original paper makes strong assumptions in order to arrive at the quadratic relationship based on uncorrelated inputs, which is a much, much stronger assumption than is reasonable in human life among talking individuals. Anyways, but while using Quadratic in a different context to score contribution accounting, we found that actually the outcomes were about the same. It was fascinating that how close the outcomes have been, whether you score it linear or quadratic. Mm-hmm. So what I offer is that, Jan reported that we keep people in the loop and don't worry too much about. It's like first to introduce a technique that pays people for Sybil and so on, and then we try to fix it. Well, Gitcoin in all, I'd say, sunk about $5 million into internal and external research and coding to defeat that limitation, and pretty much has moved on since. And now their thing is, of course, is distributed identity, which is an interesting thing. And they arrived at it out of the need. But still, even with that in place, they still walked away from having to deal with such a broad range of proposals from all over the place. So, I'd say solving things algorithmically is interesting, but I'd rather let people decide what's what, and because ultimately the difference, like we already mentioned, the difference between people having similar opinions versus them somehow, having malicious ideas and fixing the system. The only difference actually is the intent, because you can have same identical numbers either way. Collusion is a bad thing, but me and you talking and you liking my proposal is a good thing. Well, guess what? The two are indistinguishable. So I think we need to kind of not be too enamored by straight up arithmetic, whether linear or quadratic, and instead make sure that people have a chance to express, and that they're real people. If somebody just walks by and casts a vote, okay, whether a human or a bot or whatever, do we even care what they have to say? They're not engaged, they're not familiar. Do they have any competence to render an opinion?
Thanks a lot, Walter. I really appreciate that. And it's a very different look on the same issue. Let me maybe finish this, try to finish this with one way we could translate this to a real situation with a different approach than we're taking right now. So right now we're trying to take all the 500,000 proposals we'll have in the future and algorithmically have a voting system that will make the best one surface. Another approach could be that we have a limited number of people, however we select them and wherever we find them, that will filter down the 1,000 proposals to 100 that are all more or less good. And then if people would vote maliciously or something would go wrong or whatever, it would still be from the 100 proposals that we already know are all pretty good. So that would put less stress on the correctness of the voting system. Of course, it translates the problem to another area, these people, etc. And I know also Catalyst has some issues there, so that's another problem. But it's a different way of looking at the same problem with totally different tool set, basically. So food for thought, and let's continue.
Most definitely. Sounds like there's a need to continue for sure.
Mhm.
Well, that was unexpected, but I mean, it's exactly the kind of conversations we want to have here at the town hall. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you to the excellent presenters today. Thank you, Guillermo. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Jan, for giving
One
an
final
update.
word to Kenrick. So here's what's very telling. In Gitcoin's own internal proposals, which included their internal structuring and funding, they have used straight up one token, one vote. And basically the decisions have been made, and you can check them on Snapshot, have been made by top 2 or 2.5 votes. So there is Gitcoin's conviction into Quadratic, where it came to their own decisions and their own monies.
Yeah, it's hard to give up control. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a great discussion. Yeah.
And I don't work there anymore. It's been a disappointment, but shh, don't tell anyone.
Well, it's very good to have your experience here, Walter. I really appreciate that. And I would also appreciate your continued advice and feedback on whatever we are doing. And I hope Kenrick will feel the same.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For sure. That's definitely true.
All right. I think, guys and girls, this was probably one of the most high quality town halls and discussions that I've experienced so far. Very in depth, very relevant, and very important. So
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Great to see
everybody.
you all.
And
Agreed.
hope to see you
Thank
at
you,
the
guys.
next one.
You're right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for your time and
Bye.
presence. Have a good night.